Hello again, Woodland Ponders. I'm Al Chasen, co-chair along with Irene Fitzgerald of ArtScope. For those of you who are new to Woodland Pond and haven't had a chance to meet us, ArtScope is a group dedicated to ensuring that creativity continues to flourish at Woodland Pond. Included in that mission is exhibiting our artwork for residents and guests to enjoy. This is now our second virtual opening reception. Listening to Michelle give her talk on 1340 a few weeks ago, I held out hope that this one would be a live, actual opening. It wasn't to be, so here we are again. Frankly, I'm not optimistic about having an actual opening reception anytime soon. Again, I want to thank Jason Irish for videotaping this event. We're faced with problems when we do a virtual. First and foremost, because we don't have a video camera. Jason records the show with an iPad, which has built-in limitations. And because of other events taking place in the pack, we have a very narrow window of opportunity. We're shooting this late Friday afternoon. Then Jason will be editing the results on his own time over the weekend. Along with you, I'm seeing the final product for the first time on 1340. That's a scary thought. At the last virtual, I brought along a bottle of white wine and got complaints that I was ignoring red wine lovers. I was concerned that if I brought red today, I'd hear from rosé adherents. So no wine, sorry, and also no cookies. The plans for this exhibit were disrupted by the recent outbreak of virus on campus. It was on again, off again, on again, off again, on again. It was nerve-wracking, but we persevered. Once again, our thanks to Tom Natoli, Bill Barbash, and Larry Randall, who did the actual hanging. Not an easy job. The current show, Personal Favorites, features favorite photographs taken by 7 of Woodland Pond's more serious photographers. It's not an easy task to go through years of photography to settle on 4 or 5 of one's favorites. You choose them one day, and then on another day you might choose differently. If this were a live event, each photographer would stand in front of their work, describe each photograph, tell you something about themselves, and answer any questions you, the audience, might have. Unfortunately, present circumstances don't permit it. The number of people and available times to video were problematic. Instead, we'll adopt Ken Burns-style documentary approach. Each photographer has submitted a biography and statement about themselves and their work. Gretchen and I will read their words off camera as Jason pans across their photography. We apologize for any glitches. The photographs were taken by Carol Natoli, Halima Hassan, Michelle Coccabano, Bill Barbash, Larry Randall, Tamar Opler, and Cynthia Lee. You'll learn that not all photos are printed on photography paper nowadays. Some in the exhibit are printed on canvas, even flannel. And occasionally some of our photographers have them printed on metal. You'll be able to see this exhibit on YouTube as soon as Jason uploads it. Michelle's advisory, dated November 18th, implies that you'll have an opportunity to view the exhibit in the pack most of this week. Starting November 27th, Independent Living will be on quarantine for 2 weeks. When you get a chance, come see this exhibit. It's certainly worthwhile. Now let's see what the exhibit reveals.
Our first featured photographer is Carol Natoli, and here's what she shares. I started photographing when very young. I never got into the technical aspects, just point and shoot, mostly with a Canon camera. My interests lie mainly in nature and travel, so that's what is depicted in most of my photography. These photos are some of my favorites because they show some of the different aspects of water, and I love various water scenes in nature. Some of these photos are of Iguazu Falls in Brazil, a Texas superstar water lily taken at the New York Botanical Gardens, sunset in Namibia, and pancake rocks in New Zealand.
Halima Hassan is our next photographer. Halima shares with us, I began taking photos when I was given a Brownie camera at the age of 13. As I had been diagnosed as legally blind as a child, I needed to wear very thick eyeglasses, which interfered with looking through the lens finder. In my 20s, I was fitted with contact lenses, and that opened a whole new world of photography, especially in color. I was told that I would be blind later in life, so photography impelled me to really see the world, to notice details carefully, so that I could remember them when I became blind. Photography was my vehicle. My favorite subjects are flowers, landscapes, sculpture, and more recently, art in museums. I used film, cameras, and tripods, large and heavy. When digital cameras appeared, my cameras got smaller and lighter. Now I primarily use my smartphone. A new ophthalmologist informed me that the previous diagnosis of blindness was incorrect, and subsequent cataract surgery helped me to see brilliant colors. Moving to the Hudson Valley 10 years ago opened a whole new vista of beautiful sights.
Our next feature is Tamar Ockler. She writes this, as I consider these photos, certainly they are about place, very much about place. Giverny, the home of Monet, the Canal du Midi, famous since medieval times. They are very much about place, landscape, and announcing something about nature. And yet they are very much not about place at all, but about some emotion, perhaps nameless, perhaps specific, perhaps amorphous, that connects me, draws me to enter a frame of aesthetic intensity. When we speak about aesthetic experience, we don't wonder if the rug matches the sofa, although we are concerned with the harmony of color. In a similar way, these photos are not at all about places I've been. They are rather about connection, intensity, and one person's inner links to the outer world. These photos are also about memory. When I look at one of my photos, I of course remember where I was when I took it, and in some subtle, subliminal way, recall why I took it, what drew me to the image, and my elaborations in the editing process. The results are mine. I hope they also become yours, as they echo your own experience, your own connections.
Next, we have the work of Michelle Coccabano. These are my favorites because they are examples of the natural world that surrounds us. And as such, I concentrate on landscape and nature. Living here in the Hudson Valley is a nature photographer's dream come true. I've been taking photographs for over 40 years as a hobby. I used the Canon Rebel with a telephoto lens for the Yellowstone photo. The remainder were taken with an iPhone 6 and 7 Plus. I now only use an iPhone 7 Plus. I'm guided by a quote from Elliot Erwitt, one of our great photographers. To me, photography is an art of observation. It's about finding something interesting in an ordinary place. I've found it has little to do with things you see and everything with the way you see them. Michelle closes with, his sentiment carries great meaning to me.
Now we hear from Bill Barbash. My pictures are generally landscapes. I have been taking pictures long before digital, when I learned to pay special attention to composition, focus, and exposure. I presently use a Minolta digital camera that has a variety of functions. I also have a smartphone, but only use its camera occasionally. 4 pictures are digital from a Japan trip in 2004. One picture is Mount Fuji, viewed from the village of Hakone. 2 pictures are of gardens of Kyoto. There is a Japanese feel to the plantings and the placement of the stone objects. The lush coloring was exceptional. A fourth picture is a view of the Tadai-ji Temple in Nara. It houses a 50-foot tall bronze Buddha. The fifth is a film picture from 1995 of a winter scene in the Berkshires and is a personal favorite.
Next is Larry Randall. My photos are drawn from recent work and older images. They include typical landscapes as well as an unusual abstract and an extreme close-up of a single flower, and are in color or black and white. All were taken with various digital SLR cameras and lenses, and most were taken in the New Paltz area. The prints were made by a commercial online lab. Some are framed without mats or glass. I have been taking photos for many years, but only in the past dozen or so have I consciously worked at improving my skills. Digital photography has made it much easier to learn because of the instant feedback. Doing my own editing on a computer is also very helpful. I have taken several online photography courses as well as a few multi-day workshops in the field. I use digital single lens reflexes, SLR cameras, because of their flexibility, particularly the ability to use different lenses on the same camera. Recently, I began using an iPhone for casual photography, but still prefer the SLRs.
And our final photographer is the work of Cynthia Lee. She writes, "The inspiration of my photography occurs during my extensive trips abroad when I experience cultural differences, visit world historic sites, and make lasting memories that I enjoy sharing. In January 2020, I visited Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam, and captured some of those special moments using a Panasonic digital camera. The large mounted 8-photo collage titled Exotic Southeast Asia, printed on soft white flannel cloth, illustrates highlights from my trip. In Cambodia, I captured sunrises at the ancient ruins of Angkor Wat and an amazing cable car ride above a North Vietnamese mountain valley. My Buddha photo on canvas titled Transience is of a 19th century bronze statue in Bangkok. For me, the purpose of photography is observing amazingly unplanned moments in time while being able to capture and hold the essence of those brief moments for future enjoyment."
With apologies to Ken Burns, thank you for visiting with us and stay safe.